and literally rub the skin so that it like becomes unstuck. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my fucking God, I have to give my dog a hand job. Hello, clowns.
I'm Ami.
I'm Yu Chen, and we're the hosts of Clown Bites Podcast.
We're two best friends who are chronically online and get together weekly to laugh and discuss all the clown behavior we see on the internet.
And there's so much.
Truly so much.
We're so glad to have you here to clown around with us, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Good morning, clowns. Ami has made me wait like a good 10 minutes while she gets scammed on the internet.
This India flight is like ruining my life. Like, how come it's so hard for me to just buy a flight ticket to India? Like, no one will just sell me this flight without hassle, and I'm tired of it.
Okay, can you not just book the flight directly via the airline?
Okay, so now I'm trying. This morning I was trying to do that and it keeps erroring out. So, like, God fucking knows. I'm about to call my mom after this and be like, please, just do this for me.
What are moms for? If
I
not
know.
to buy our plane tickets and cook us food when we come back.
Yesterday when my flight got like changed again for the 4th time by the airline, I just called her and I was like, please do something about this. And she immediately called like her India travel agent and like stuck him on the job. So God
You know
bless.
what I think is like a dying career, or maybe it's just not as used as much anymore, but like travel agents,
Yeah.
booking agents. And sometimes I get these TikToks where it's like, this is why you should book with a travel agent. It costs you no additional dollars and you get all these perks. So maybe we should try it one day.
Yeah, in India, we always use a travel agent, like if we're traveling within the country, and then even sometimes to like get there, we'll ask them to get it. And I don't know why I didn't this time because it has been a nightmare. And yesterday when we called the guy, like first of all, it was night for him, and he immediately was like, yeah, let me just call the UK number and I'll deal with it. And it's like, this level of service is unmatched.
Unmatched. I want to tell you about my trippy that you were very confused about.
Very confused. Yes, please tell me.
Okay, so in the last episode, I prefaced that I was kind of going out of town, but not really. We were just renting a car, and Ami doesn't live in the city, so she doesn't understand what that means. But we were staying in the city and just driving out for like little day trips, and we wanted to go to the Muir Woods, which is a national park with redwood trees just like an hour away from the city. And I have been trying to go to all these national parks because I bought a $35 annual pass while we were at Big Bend National Park, and I have yet to use my dollar's worth of that park pass.
In Yosemite, like the car that we had rented had also gone to Yosemite that week and bought a week-long pass. So we didn't even actually have to re-buy a pass. Like we just had it. But just pretend in your mind that you used your pass because we should have.
It's a sunk cost now at this point, but I am sad. I don't know, excited to report that I still have not used it because we could not get into the Muir Woods. So as we were driving, there were so many signs that said Muir Woods parking reservation required. Like we saw 5 to 8 signs each mile. There was a sign, and Nico was like, oh, it says parking reservation required. I'm just like, oh, really? Like, I don't remember reading anything about this, but every time I researched going, it was always via the shuttle, and we were never planning on renting a car.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it never registered to me. But literally every mile, I was just like, no, I don't think it'll be that busy. Like, let's just go and see. We get to the like front of the line and they're checking for passes, and he's like, they're checking for passes. I'm like, no, let's just ask. We get to the front, he's like, yeah, you can't buy a pass. You can drive 2 miles that way and walk into the park. And so we were about to do that, but the parking lot was full at the other
my God,
parking that he told us to go 2 miles away. And at this point I was just like, I'm done with this. Another L for me.
God, that's so annoying that you had to have a parking pass, and unfortunate that you didn't get one. I don't know what to say. So what'd you guys do?
I know. We just ended up going to Mount Tam. That's the nickname. I can't pronounce the full name. I just call it Mount Tamales, but that's not how you say it. But it was so hot. It was like 99 degrees outside and we were unwell. But yeah, I wanted to tell the story because I was, a delusional clown this weekend thinking all the 10 warning signs that I saw was not real. And sometimes you just gotta be delusional.
You have to be. Sometimes you just think like, whatever, we didn't plan properly, but it's gonna work out. Remember when we didn't get the right pass for what's that church in Barcelona?
Oh, yeah. Anyways, there are 2 major passes that you can get in Barcelona, and Ami picked the wrong one. But I can't blame her because I didn't do this. I didn't plan for it.
Yeah, she didn't audit me. And also they were called like essentially the same thing. Like it was like Barcelona Pass or Barcelona like Day Pass. Like it was so similar, like really hard to tell. And then we just woke up so early and we're like, we're just gonna go and we'll be able to get in. We did not get in. But after, and I don't know if my friend told me this just to make me feel better, but he was like, the outside is much cooler. Like the inside is whatever. Like it looks normal like everywhere else. So I was like, okay, at least we saw the outside.
I will say, like, the reason why I like traveling with you and why I feel like these little trips have really tested my relationship is you will always encounter situations where it doesn't go as planned, and traveling is stressful, and both parties just need to be able to go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah, you have to. You can't let ill preparedness affect you.
Yeah.
And we have many issues like every time we go.
So many issues.
No matter how much we're like really trying to plan. I also had a very, very hot weekend. I watched my friend's dog, whose name is also Leo. And just
Classic.
for the day, I know my mom called me while I was there and I was like, oh, I'm watching Leo. And she was like so confused. She was like, how is Yutan's dog in Dallas? Like, what's going on? Like, why do you have him? And I was like, no, Amy's Leo. And she was like, they're both named Leo. I was like, yeah, it's a little confusing.
Yeah. We're both unoriginal.
Yeah, but I just like went and hung out with him in the afternoons for like a few hours. And God, taking him out, like we were only outside for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time because even Leo was like, what the fuck? Like, let's go inside because it was so hot. Like, I think it was a 108 both Saturday and Sunday. And I think the feels like must have been like 115. It was a oven. And like, even in the shade being outside, I was like sweating buckets and it was tough.
This is related to our main topic today. It's really fun. I'm sure everyone has been wondering, where's Leo and Phoebe?
No one's wondering.
This is a joke, by the way. No one asks us this. Everyone is well aware where they are.
Phoebe's actually coming in a couple of weeks, and I'll have her for 2 months almost, which I'm excited for.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yes, this episode is all about our journey of being dog moms. And spoiler alert, we're failed dog moms.
We're the typical child dog moms.
Yes. And honestly, I don't think people talk enough about failed dog moms. And so maybe this episode will hit home, trigger some of you. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be really fun. I mean, my dogs are psycho crazy. Just one of them, actually. But we'll have lots of fun stories to share and just talk about our journey overall. Okay, let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Our relationship with dogs. So I didn't grow up with dogs, and I know you didn't either, right? Like,
no.
Nobody in your family had dogs.
No, my parents, or my dad wasn't scared, but my mom has like always been scared of dogs because the dogs in India are scary.
Same. Yeah, I've always wanted dogs. I've always just loved animals. Growing up when I was little, I wanted to be a vet. I remember always asking my parents for a dog, and they're like, no, you have a little brother. I'm like, yeah, it's not the same thing. And now that I have a dog, it's still not the same thing, but sure. But yes, to your point, in China too, the dogs aren't vaccinated. I'm sure they are more vaccinated now, but back then when my parents lived in China, it just wasn't really regulated. And so they were like scared of dogs, especially my mom.
Yeah.
But like all people stuck at home during COVID, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is literally the perfect opportunity to pitch getting a dog with my parents. And it was going to be my dog, right? But I was living at home because I, in New York, had an apartment where it was so tiny and my bedroom did not get any natural light. So I was stuck at home for God knows how long.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I need something to do. I've always wanted a dog. This is the perfect opportunity. Let me pitch it to them. And they were receptive. And I was like full on shocked. I think I would bring up getting a dog every single year and get shot down immediately. But I don't know. COVID changes people. It makes their heart softer. I don't know. But
it's the boredom.
They were open to getting a dog. And I was trying to find a specific dog breed. I wanted a golden doodle because I am, once again, a basic bitch. But I wanted a golden doodle, because that was the only doodle breed that I knew. And also my brother Harry has pretty bad eczema and also dog allergies. And I felt like that was the safest bet for a first-time dog. So I'm like researching different breeders in the area, and the wait lists are psychotic. It's like you're waiting a year out to get on the wait list for a litter. Like, who knows at this point how long I would be at home. I can't be stuck at home just working and talking to my parents and doing yoga. Like, I just needed something else.
Yeah.
And luckily I found this breeder who was known for Aussie Doodles. And I didn't know, well, I kind of knew, but I didn't know how many crosses between a poodle you can make. And
a ton.
Spoiler alert for this, it's like any.
Yeah.
There's no regulation in this as well. But when I spoke with the breeder, it really seemed like she was very particular about who she was selling her dogs to. And it seems like she really cared about the genetics, the like crossing of certain traits with her animals.
Yeah.
And producing really healthy pets. And ultimately, like, that's what I wanted. And her waitlist wasn't super long, and she was based out in College Station. So I decided to get on the waitlist for this dog. And it was going to be an Aussie Doodle. There were like 2 litters coming, but I was kind of on the tail end. And with like Aussie Doodles, you can pick certain types of colors, variations. And I had an idea of what I wanted, but ultimately, like, you are choosing based on your rankings in the waitlist.
Yeah.
And then it was just a waiting game. Do you remember when I told you I was getting a dog?
No.
No?
Because I have no memory. I don't remember, like, when you told me. I remember, like, talking about the dogs, like, when it was closer to, like, basically you deciding if you were going to take Sky or not. And, like, I remember that part, but I don't remember, like, the beginning. Because that summer was, like, a blur for me because it was just so hot. And I don't know what the hell I was doing every day.
Yeah, so I ended up getting to be able to pick from the litter that I was on the wait list for, but it was only the last dog available. And it was this small little black dog with a few white stripes on their head and one blue eye and one like super dark brown eye. So they looked like they only had one eye. And it was also like one of the smaller dogs. And in my mind back then, I was like, no, I want kind of like a medium-sized dog.
Yeah.
So I was like showing it to my parents. I was like, I think I'm going to pass on this. And so I passed. The next day, my dad calls me and he's like, if you're going to take this dog back with you to New York, like, what about Harry? He needs a dog too. Leave Harry out of this. It's all you. You also want a dog. So I went back and asked if we could have the dog. But I ended up like staying on the wait list for the next round. And we ended up somehow with getting 2 dogs.
2 really cute puppies. When did I decide? Okay, so this is how my dog came out to be. Decision.
Yeah, I can tell from my perspective.
Okay, so one of my friends was on the wait list for a mini schnauzer in Dallas, and she posted on her Insta story, like, hey, I ended up getting a different dog. If anyone wants my spot on the waiting list, let me know. And I saw it, and I was like, oh my God, this puppy's so cute, like, whatever. It wasn't, like, the puppy, but she posted a puppy, like, from that breeder. And I jokingly to my mom was like, hey, what if we got a dog? And she was just kind of like, yeah, okay. And she's never done that in her life. And I used to ask too all the time, but they were just like, hell no. And so then we sat my dad down, and this is like when my parents were trying to sell their house because they bought a house in Missouri City. So we were going to move once the house was built. Like, it was a mess. And my dad was just like, hell no. Like, I'm trying to sell this house. Like, you know, having a dog will make it harder to sell. Like, we need to make sure the house stays clean for the next like year until we put it on the market, this and that. And me and my mom kind of just looked at him. We were like, okay. And then I was like, yeah, I'm getting it anyway. And my mom was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. So then I just like messaged my friend and I was like, I'll take your spot. No research was done really. Like, I kind of looked up the breeder online, but my friend was like, did so much research. Like, she's a good breeder. Like, I've talked to her a ton. Like, I got a mini schnauzer because of like these different things, like their temperament, this and that. And I was like, I trust you, like I do with everything you buy, Yuch. I was just like, okay, someone already did the research for me. They're already on the wait list. This is my opportunity. Like, I was not going to, I don't know. I guess I would have never even brought up the subject had it been like an enigma idea of just being like, should we get a dog? The fact that it was, okay, my friend has this waitlist spot and I have to say yes or no. What do you guys think? It was easier for me to like bring that up for them. So then we got a dog.
Okay, from my perspective, it really came out of nowhere. One day you were like, should I get a dog? And I mean, I was already getting a dog, so I was like, yeah, not thinking that you would actually get a dog.
I know. I really like was swayed by how cute they were, but like leading up to it, yeah. So I really wanted a dog in December, and I paid out the ass for Phoebe because the litter was only 3 puppies. And it was like the most expensive coloring, which I didn't give a shit about, but it was just like, I want a dog in December. So because I have a few weeks off before work starts again, like I'll just pay whatever. And leading up to it, like the beginning of December, I started just having so many nightmares of like, what if I kill this dog? Like, what if I can't take care of it? Like, how will I do this? This is so difficult. But I was like, no, like it's fine. Everyone has a dog. Like I can do it. And
not everyone has a dog.
I know, but a lot of people have a dog, and like, you know, I'm a capable person, kind of. So like, I'll figure it out. And I am glad that I didn't give in because obviously I love Phoebe so much, but it was a very tough 6 months for me once we got her.
We'll get into it, but I want to ask you, obviously there's been a lot of debate, there's always a ton of debate about should you buy, should you adopt. I think for me, I knew I wasn't going to adopt this first time around because this was going to be my first dog. It was really hard convincing my parents of the type of dog breed to get, the right temperament to get. And because this is like a family dog, they were going to be living in the house. I didn't want to open up the doors for any unknowns. Of course, there's always going to be unknowns. Yeah. I mean, look at Leo. But I feel like if I were to do it again, I mean, we've both discussed this multiple times, but we'd probably get an adult dog and I'd probably adopt.
Yeah, that was like my reasoning too, was just I have never taken care of a dog before. If I adopted a dog and they had like things that I would have to work through, I would have just no idea how to do that. And my dad's also allergic to dogs, so I really needed a hypoallergenic dog. I think at the end of the day, like the only reason he didn't yell and scream about us agreeing to get the dog was, okay, like at least like Phoebe's not going to shed that much. That was the selling point. You just will not be able to get that kind of guarantee when you adopt.
Yeah, but honestly, fully support and admire those who are able to adopt dogs, are able to foster dogs, but also no shaming. I mean, I don't shame others who buy because
I mean, we did it.
I understand it. Yeah, we did it. All right, let's talk about how things went so crazy downhill. They were loop-de-loops when we got the dog. So my parents picked up Sky first. Sky is the small black one. And when we picked him, the breeder had prefaced, oh, he's a little rambunctious. So we kind of had that idea in the back of our mind. And my mom went with my dad to go pick him up. And, you know, she's the one that's so scared of dogs. She's like, if he's too much, like, you handle him, okay? Yeah. And they pick him up, and Sky is this little, tiny little rat thing. Sky was so tiny. He came back home and he loved it. Obviously, like the first nights are always tough. If you get a puppy, you kind of know. But I was able to come home from New York, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks after we got him. And he was such a little shark. He would literally bite my ankles all the time. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And my parents would warn me about it. My mom used to be so scared of him that she would use a Swiffer to play with him to like keep him back. And he just thought it was a game. But she just didn't want to get bitten in the ankle. And he would like bite me on my ankle while we were playing outside, and my ankle would bleed, and I'd be like, I can't tell my parents because they would be upset.
Yeah.
They would get mad at Sky, and I don't want that. But yeah, Sky was really rambunctious as a little puppy. And fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Sky can't bark, or he didn't bark for a very long time.
I remember that.
And we were like, oh my gosh, does this dog not bark? But I think he needed to like come out of his shell. Meanwhile, Leo, when Leo came, because Leo's a little bit younger than Sky was also very scared of Leo. He was like, what is this? And Leo was just like a happy-go-lucky puppy and wanted to play. And Sky was like really nervous. But then Sky just needed to assert his dominance. And that night kept on trying to hump Leo. At one point, I was just like, guys, for the first night, we need to keep Leo and Sky separated. But Sky went berserk in my parents' room, and he wanted to sleep with Leo. Leo was howling. He has a really loud, like, voice, and he wasn't adjusting well. And so they put them all in the same playpen to go to sleep. That night, I was trying to sleep, and I was like, Lord help me. I don't know what I got myself into because Leo was being so loud. I was like almost crying myself to sleep in the middle of the night. So we have a puppy camp, and I was checking Leo on his first night. He was not moving, and Sky in the dark was just like humping him like left and right. And I was like, oh my gosh, did Sky kill Leo? Did he hump my dog to death? So I go downstairs, I check him, and Leo just like perks up. And Sky perks up. I pick Leo up. I'm just like, they're there. It's okay. I put them back to sleep. I come back down at like 6 a.m. and Dad's like, why were you up last night? And I was like, because I thought Sky humped Leo to death. He's like, you're so dramatic and dumb. But yeah, our first night was rough.
Yeah. So me and my brother went to pick up Phoebe halfway, and Phoebe was 1.5 pounds when we got her. Like, she was nothing.
Oh my God,
like,
so
she
tiny.
was so little. It was, first of all, exhausting because we drove like 4.5 hours. It's a very overwhelming day because you have just gotten this animal that you have to take care of. I was just like exhausted, and I do not do well on like not good sleep. I woke up a few times in the middle of the night to try to get Phoebe to pee. It was tough too, and I think I cried the first night. I mean, I cried every night after, but like I probably cried the first night too, of just like, oh my God, what did I do? But she was very cute. She was a shark too at the beginning. Actually, I can't remember how long her shark phase lasted, but she was definitely a shark, like from the get-go. It was tough. But like, for what reason? Because Phoebe is actually a really good dog. Like, she slept a lot, and the only issue I really had with her is like, she could not freaking learn how to pee outside, and that would stress me out to no end. I would always be like so freaked out when my parents would be like, whatever, at least now we don't have to worry about it for a couple of hours, just clean it up. Or like, we'll clean it up. But like, anytime she peed in the house, I would be like, oh my God, I'm like the worst dog parent. Like, this is so annoying. I don't know like why I had put so much pressure on myself. Like, I wish I could go back and just be like, whatever, I'll just clean it up. Like, who cares?
I remember you were really stressed about that. Like, every single time she had an accident in the house, you would be so triggered.
Distraught, yeah.
The first few nights really taught me, the importance of sleep. I think we were just under very little sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep deprivation. I don't know about you, but I think we had this conversation, but it really made me question if I could be a mother.
Oh, 100%. I immediately was like, this is not for me. Like, I can barely handle this dog, much less like have a freaking baby. And like 2 weeks into having Phoebe, because I wasn't sleeping and I was like so worried every night, my parents were like, just move her into my room. And so then she started sleeping in my parents' room because one, they can't hear anything. So her moving around isn't going to bother them. That helped so much for me to like be able to actually sleep.
Exactly. Sleep is very important. We learned that. Thank God we learned it as dog moms and not actual mothers.
Yeah.
But not everyone gets that opportunity. All right, Emmy, what are puppy blues?
I had a very intense puppy blues, just like I mean, not PTSD. What is it? Postpartum.
Me
I
too.
was insanely depressed for the first few months I had Phoebe. Like, I would cry at the drop of the hat. Anything that would happen, I would just like lose it.
Mm-hmm.
I really was like forward thinking in like a doom spiral way of just like, how will I ever travel again? Like, how will I ever like live my life? And my parents were also really psycho. Like, we did not leave Phoebe alone at all for the first like 6 months. They were like, someone always has to be with Phoebe. We want her to never be alone. Like, she's cries so much. It's like she's crying because she's never been alone. We would put her in the pen to sleep and then she would howl and my dad would just take her out. They also made it so hard for me to believe that I could ever have a life again. I would just doom scroll on Puppy 101 Reddit all day, every day and cry. Like, just be like, oh my God, this is my life now.
Was I the one who introduced you to Puppy 101 subreddit?
It was either you or my coworker because she was also like trying to get a dog at the same time. So we would talk about it all the time. The stories on Puppy 101 subreddit are batshit. Some of those stories are so intense, but it did help me a lot to read any puppy blues post because a bunch of the comments would be like, it does get better. When they're adults, it's fine. And I'd be like, okay, just gotta get to the next 2 years. I can do it.
Yeah, Puppy 101 was such a saving grace because you get like training tips, and it's really a community for a lot of first time dog owners. Of course,
Yeah.
the dog community can be very judgy, I think, because everyone has their own opinions on how to raise a dog, just like a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is really a right way, but I remember I read so many training advices. Before I got Sky and Leo, I was so ambitious about what I was going to train them. And now they can barely they can't loose leash walk anymore. It's also because we were living with our parents, and when you are kind of sharing responsibilities with people, you kind of have to have the same perspective on how to train them. Like you said, you and your parents weren't really in agreement on how to deal with Phoebe's whining. And I think similarly with my parents, I felt like I wanted to train them a lot more. And my parents were like, oh, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You just gotta give a few. You know, you can't fully have it your way all the time.
No. The best thing I trained her to do was go to place. I think that was like so freaking helpful. And then she could do like sit, lay down, like dumb stuff like that. Now she can do nothing. Like she can sit and she can like kind of lay down. She is just too stubborn to go to place when we tell her. She's just like, what's in it for me? And she can do nothing. And my brother, like when he was home for a few months earlier this year because he had surgery, was like trying to train her. And he would call me all the time, be like, your dog's so dumb, this and that. It's like, no, she's not dumb. She just rules this house. And she knows that, like, she doesn't need to do this shit. And it's too late.
Okay, real talk. Remember when you were really debating about giving Phoebe back?
Yeah, for the first few weeks when I was like so out of my mind depressed, I was just like, this is not for me. I'm not going to be able to give like Phoebe a good life. This is too much responsibility. I can't do this. Maybe I should give her back to the breeder. And me and my parents would talk about it all the time. But at that point, my mom was like already really obsessed with Phoebe. My dad would just be like, yeah, do whatever you want. Which was helpful but unhelpful. He was basically like, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. At one point, my mom was like, just think that Phoebe is ours. She's not your responsibility. We'll handle it. Which they didn't actually, so that was all a gimmick.
It's always a gray area.
Yeah, it was a super gray area.
Any issues with Phoebe is always due to this gray area.
Yeah, because of this like thing, there's a huge gray area of like, whose dog is Phoebe? They, in their mind, think like, it's our family dog, which she is essentially at this point. But to this day, we just argue about where Phoebe should live.
For the audience, Phoebe always has a home. She has
She has multiple homes. My parents are like
multiple beds.
insanely obsessed with her. They buy her so much shit. She has a bed in every room of the house, which in some rooms she has 2 beds. It's crazy. She's a very well-loved dog.
Yeah, all of our dogs are very well loved. All right, let's talk about some of our clownish moments of raising dogs. Okay. I think I always tell this story, but of course I have boy dogs. Phoebe is a girl dog, but I don't know. No one prepares you for the red lipstick of a boy dog. And I have never owned a dog before, so I've never experienced this. But, you know, before they're neutered, Sky is also a very riled up dog. His hormones really take over him. I remember we were playing in the backyard once, and he was like 4 months old, 5 months old. Some other dog was like howling in their backyard. He was outside howling too. And suddenly I turn and I just see this bright red stick coming out of where he pees. And for anyone who has a boy dog or knows what I'm talking about, it is alarming. Have you ever seen it before, Ami?
I don't know if I've seen it before.
You would know that it's red because when it comes out, it is
I haven't.
Bright red. And I was just like, what is this? And the issue in this first experience is Sky's skin fold was literally stuck inside. So his penis was literally out the entire time. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, is something wrong with him? And I remember my breeder saying, if anything ever happens with your dog, like, you can always text me, like, or call me. Like, I will be able to help. So I take a photo of my dog's dick, send it to her, and I'm like, Julie, what is going on here? She calls me immediately. She's like, honey, do you have kids? I was like, no. And she's like, okay, that is your dog's penis. And then it is out, and it looks like it's a little stuck. So what you need to do is, you need to get some petroleum jelly, some Vaseline, and literally rub the skin so that it like becomes unstuck. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my fucking God, I have to give my dog a hand job. So naturally, my brother's inside doing nothing. I call him over. He's like, Harry, come hold Sky down on his back so I can fix this. And Harry was like, okay. So yes, that is the story of how I discovered what a dog's penis looks like and how I had to give my dog a hand job.
Oh my God.
Also, I don't think I will ever have another boy dog. I think if I ever get dogs, I'm getting girl dogs.
I think I can only have girl dogs from now, although I have such good boy dog name options that I really want a boy dog just for that. But I'll just name my girl dog this boy name, whatever, I don't care. I had no issues like that with Phoebe, but her one issue is she loves eating mulch. And we had just gotten like mulch put into the backyard, and multiple days in a row, she would just go stick her whole body in it, eat it, like roll around in it. We would have to like wash her. And then we like just stopped letting her go in the backyard unattended until like the mulch didn't have as strong of a smell that she was obsessed with. But that's her one like pleasure.
Oh my gosh, my dogs have so many guilty pleasures. But remember doesn't Phoebe doesn't it make her throw up?
Oh yeah, it also makes her throw up. Phoebe's a throw-up queen. She throws up left and right. Queen. Yeah. Phoebe, when she's at my apartment, loves to throw up on my bed. One time, I literally saw this happening. She jumped onto the bed, started doing her like throw-up motion.
The little cat cow.
The cat cow. And
aggressive cat cows.
It's like, not today, Phoebe. Like, throw up on the floor. And so I put her on the floor. I have carpet in my room and wood in the like living area. And I was trying to move her to that, but she does not like to sit on anything that's not soft or carpet. If I tell her to sit on wood or like in tile, she'll just won't do it. She just will be like, I don't give a shit. I'm not doing this. So she came back into my room, threw up on the carpet, which fine. At least it wasn't my bed because she's thrown up multiple times on my bed. At home, she will also just jump onto my bed to throw up.
Our dogs sometimes they don't know what's good for them. Or they like stuff that's just really bad for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Leo I can't believe I haven't talked about Leo, but Leo has the worst habits. When I lived in New York, he loved eating rocks. He loved chewing rocks. You would just hear me screaming, Leo, stop chewing rocks. I'd be known in the dog park as the dog mom who has a dog that like chews on rocks. He also has this weird ear fetish. Like, even when he was a little puppy, he loved licking our ears. He loved big ear dogs. There was a basset hound that came to the dog park all the time where we lived. Leo is obsessed with that basset hound. Could not stop licking his ears. I forgot his name, but the basset hound was just like so chill, just like doing his own thing. And Leo going like, let me lick your ears. Let me lick your ears. Let me hump you. And like usually when I'm like, okay, Leo, it's time to go, he'll be like, all right, it's time to go. If we see him, if the Basset Hound is there, Leo refuses to leave. He's just obsessed with big ears.
I feel like ears must have a scent because Phoebe also
Yeah.
really, like, if we're laying down, she's always near our ears, like sniffing, licking, and I wonder what it is.
Something about that Basset Hound's ears, though, like really turns Leo on. So, okay, to wrap us up, where are they now? I mean, where's Phoebe?
Phoebe lives mostly full time with my parents. I only get her when they're going out of town. Luckily, they do travel so much, so I do get her for like a monthish usually at a time, a few times a year. This time I'm getting very lucky because they're traveling for a while. And anytime I'm like, should I take Phoebe back with me? They're just like, no, you go out too much. She doesn't have a backyard. You don't spend enough time with her. My mom's like, when Phoebe comes to your house, you can only leave the house one time a day. And I'm just like, you can't control my life like this. Like, I cannot live my life
Yeah.
around Phoebe. And they're like, well, we live our life around Phoebe. So that's why Phoebe should be with us. It's kind of hard to argue with that. It's just easier to be like, yeah, I do understand that Phoebe has a better life with you guys. So I'll concede for now. Where is Sky and Leo?
Where's Sky and Leo? Sky's always where he's supposed
Yeah.
to be. He's our family dog, so he lives back home with my parents, and he doesn't know anything else. Leo, as you can tell, like he started off living with us in Texas when we first got him, and when I moved back to New York, like a little bit post-COVID, he came with me for almost a year, I would say. And then I had to move to San Francisco. And in that move, I decided to bring him back to Texas for a bit so that I can get settled in San Francisco. And just more real talk. I know we always talk about like puppy blues and it would get better when they're adults. I think Leo got worse when he came to New York. He was actually like a really okay puppy, but in New York, I don't know if it's the independence that he got, like all the free time that he got, like all the city stuff. Leo's not a city dog, and he's just naturally like very scared of new surroundings. He doesn't adopt well.
Yeah.
He's also very, very smart. He likes to play to his advantage. And, you know, real honesty here, I was pretty depressed at the end of my time in New York because of Leo. I've always thought that, you know, if I never meet my future husband and we decide and I'm not able to have kids that way, I would always adopt and be a single mom. Leo taught me that that's not possible for me.
Yeah.
Like, I need that partnership and support from another person, and I didn't have that in New York, and I think that made me pretty depressed. I didn't realize the full extent of that depression until I moved to SF and was kind of relieved of that responsibility, and I felt really guilty. But at the same time, my dad loves Leo. I mean, my mom loves Leo too, but Leo loves my dad as well. And Sky loves having a buddy with Leo, and Leo has a backyard, and he is the type of dog that I think really needs a backyard.
Yeah.
It just got to the point where like I knew it was best for all parties to have him live back in Texas, and that's all we really want, you know, is for our dogs to have the best life that they can. And it wasn't without, like, we tried really hard to be the best mom and parents, and sometimes being the best parent isn't with you, it's with someone else.
Yeah. I just can't be as doting as my mom. Like, just don't have that instinct. Phoebe loves my mom the most. It feels like cruel sometimes to take her away. Even when they go on vacation, I know that when she first gets here, she's like excited because she doesn't get to spend like that much time with me anymore. But after a while, she's just like, where are my like grandparents? I miss them.
Yeah. And my streets are so dirty around where I live.
So
Leo would
dirty
just
here too.
not enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Phoebe like does not walk in Dallas because she's so scared of other dogs. Phoebe is 9 pounds, so she's extremely small. Anytime we see a dog, she wants to go back immediately. So when she's here, we pretty much only go outside to pee, and we'll take her to the dog, like to a park for like a little bit, but she's still just sitting. Like, she doesn't get that much exercise because she's just too scared. And that's not good for her.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. The truth. We're failed dog moms. And if you are one too, you are not alone.
Yeah. You know, it is what it is. It's not like we don't love our dogs as much as anyone, but sometimes you gotta sacrifice as a parent. Thanks so much for listening. You can follow us on all social media at Clown Vibes Podcast or email us at clownvibespodcast@gmail.com.
And if you like our show and want to support us, please like, subscribe, and give us a rating and review. That's it for today. Bye, clowns.
Bye, clowns.